Hi, Erica here from Crafty Geek Enterprises, back with another 3D modeling adventure! Yeah. So, this week I decided to try my hand at Shera's Sword. Now, disclaimer, I never watched Shera. It was not available to me when I was growing up. However, I have a best friend who loved the cartoon series, and this is for her. So what I did was I got on Google and I looked up different images of the sword from different angles to try and figure out what this would look like in reality. I then sketched out a design of the sword in Inkscape, which is another 3D tool which you should totally check out. So once I sketched out the sword in Inkscape, I then exported it into 123D Design. Now, I ran into this weird situation, which it might just be me, I don't know. When I exported that sketch to 123D Design, every line was doubled. So I had to go in and use the trim tool and clean up the sketch so that I could use it easier. And that took a little bit of tweaking, but I did it. Finally, I extruded various pieces straight from the sketch. Other items I placed shapes in. For example, the spheres on the blade part. Those were just dropped into place. I used the rotate or the revolve function for the handle. I used a torus and a sphere for the pommel part, so I used a lot of different techniques. The biggest problem I ran into while making this sword was the blade, because I wanted the design to be very specific. I wanted it to be a double-edged sword where there's no flat space on either side, the front or the back. And it was kind of difficult to try and figure out how to make that shape happen. I tried to extrude the blade and then chamfer it. I tried the fillet tool. Those two were great, but they did not give me the profile I was looking for. The fillet tool wouldn't fillet enough of the sword away. So, I even tried using the subtract tool and using different planes set at different angles to try and get the material to overlap and create that shape. It got close, but it still wasn't correct. Finally, I remembered the tool, which I believe is called sweep, where you can take a shape and have it extend itself following a profile that you set out for it. So what I did was I traced the edge of the blade, and then I took a wedge and I extended that wedge along that line, and it gave me that double-edged profile I was looking for. Then I had to chop off the curved portion at the bottom and cut that in half, because whenever I angled the wedge, I angled it a little off center, so there was no way to mirror that and have it symmetrical on each coordinate. So I cut it in half. I mirrored one of those halves, so that part of the blade, the left part of the blade, was symmetrical. Then I combined those into one piece and mirrored that piece again, so I had left and right portions of the blade, and they were identical. I was then able to combine those into one solid blade. Once the blade was done, I then focused on trying to get the rest of the pieces in place and any gaps closed off. And did a lot of tweaking, a lot of adjusting of the position of each piece. I tried to get everything to be symmetrical, and I tried to then align everything so that it was centered properly. The middle part, I wanted it to be beveled as well, mimicking the sword blade. This took some tweaking, so what I ended up doing was taking the sketch of the middle piece and drawing a line down the center, trimming off the extra bits off the sketch, and then extruding half of that piece into a 3D object. I was then able to mirror that so they were symmetrical, and I was then able to tweak the edge to give it a nice angle, a nice bevel, the whole way from the center to all the way down to the edge, and that gave me that middle piece. Finally, once that was in place, I was able to create the gemstone that you see in the middle of the sword. And I did that by rotating a sketch into a 3D object. Then I noticed some gaps in the blade of the sword, so I put a little wedge piece of material in there to just fill that in. And once everything was lined up properly and there were no gaps, I was then able to take each individual piece and assign a material and a color to it so that it looked more like the sword from the cartoon. And I think it was pretty cool. I gave it a wooden handle and brass decorative bits. I made the gemstone blue to match the cartoon, and then I was done. And I left all these pieces separate to showcase those different materials and different colors. I tried to combine them, but when I combined them, it wanted to assign one material, one color to the whole thing and make it uniform. So I'm not sure if I did it incorrectly or if that's just one of the characteristics of this program. So there you have it. That's my Shera Sword. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Comment down below. I would love to hear what you thought about it. And thank you for watching. Have a wonderful week, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.